All right, welcome back, everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend. We are here live once again. It's been 2 weeks, and we're going to try and we went for quite a span there without doing one, but we're going to try and get back on our every 2 week schedule and answer all your questions and talk about things going around Montana. So I would like to introduce my wife Angie again is with us, and she can tell you she grew up in Big Fork, and they have kind of a cool thing they do every Memorial Day weekend down there.
Yeah, and I just Googled it, and I was correct. It is the 48th annual. Will was calling, saying that I was full of myself and that I was wrong. But yeah, 48th annual Big Fork Whitewater Festival. So benefiting the Montana Kayak Academy. Yeah, and it's just a kayak race. They do a, what would you call it?
Like slalom in the
Yeah.
water.
And they have to go through it. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of fun to watch, and there are food trucks. And so it's fun to go down to Big Fork and check it out for the weekend.
Well, I'm sure everyone's happy that you called me out and they, got into one of our arguments about who was right. So thank you for that.
Love it when I'm right.
She never loses that opportunity. Um, so a couple other things we'll talk about before we get to your questions. So leave your questions down below and we'll hit those like we always do throughout the video. But let me put that up right now so I don't forget. So there was kind of a tragedy earlier this week in the park. The park's open now up to Avalanche, so you can drive from the front gate at West Glacier all the way to the Avalanche Creek campground, and then hike up to Avalanche. I think on the last video we talked about Angie and her friends. At that point, you could only go to Lake McDonald Lodge, and they rode their bikes from there up to Avalanche and then hiked up to Lake. Now you can go all the way to Avalanche. But unfortunately, there was a girl from, I think, the University of Kansas that when you start, maybe you can talk about it, Angie, when that hike is beautiful, but the first, what is it, mile maybe?
I don't know. I think that it's only 2 miles total.
Oh, well.
I don't think it's real long. So probably maybe the first, I don't know, not even half mile. You're going along this gorge, and there's so much water right now because of the runoff from the mountains and the glaciers and the snowpack. And so there's all this mist coming up from the gorge, and it makes rocks very, very slippery. And you would think that the number one cause of death in the park would be grizzly bears, but it's not. It's slipping and drowning. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, she slipped, and it sounds like she fell into the gorge, and just awful, awful. I can't even imagine. And it's not the first time that it's happened in that area, along that gorge. So just a sad, sad deal. Just like, she was 28, and
Yes. So be careful if you're going to the park around the water, because that is, like Angie said, weirdly enough, it's not falls off of cliffs or it's not bears, it's drowning is the number one cause of death in Glacier Park. And unfortunately, they added another one to their statistics this week, and hopefully it's the last this year. But every year, I think people, they don't, I don't know.
They underestimate it. They don't wear the right footwear. They don't think, oh, the rocks might be slippery because look at all the mist coming. No, you don't think of that. You just think, oh, it's so pretty, and let me get a little closer so that I can see. And then the other thing that I've always read is that part of the drowning issue is that the water is so cold that you immediately go into shock, and you kind of, I mean, even in August when you get into the lakes and rivers around here, it kind of takes your breath away, and you kind of get this weird, it's your breath is just gone, and you have to remember to calm down and breathe, and that fight or flight. And I think people just, it's hard to get your mind to calm your body down and swim to shore or whatever the situation is. But that's part of it, is you just hit that water and it's just so cold. I don't
Yeah,
even.
and that particular spot is it's not all that far down, it doesn't seem like. This little gorge, but it's very narrow and the water's just flying through there. So I don't care how good of a swimmer you are, you're just going with the current till you get to the bottom and to the shallower part. But I don't, yeah, it's not good. But just thought we'd throw that warning out there for everybody. And um, so what else? Oh, so another interesting thing we stumbled upon this past week was and I've talked about it in some of my videos, but an easement, we talk about easements all the time when bigger properties. And something that I learned, or we both learned this week, was so the situation or the question is if there's an easement through a property, um, obviously you can, like, if you own a property and your neighbor has an easement to go through to get to the other side or to get to whatever, you can never, that goes with the land. You can never take that away unless all parties agree and sign off on it to get rid of it. But like if you own the property and you're sick of your neighbor driving through there, it's too bad. You can't, it's an easement. It goes with the property until everyone agrees to get rid of it. But I was wondering, and this is kind of what the question that came up is if it's running through your property, you obviously have to let your neighbor use it, but can you move it to a different part of the property but still give him access? And the answer is no. And that was kind of surprising to me because it's your property and obviously the easement goes through it. And if you're still going to give him a right to get to his property through your property, I figured that would be okay to do. But apparently it is not, because that easement is it was explained to us like it's like a deed where it's part of the land, right? And you can't even move it without everybody agreeing to it. Was that your take?
Yeah. In this particular situation, I think that everything would have gone better too. I mean, a resolution maybe would have been found if owners would have just gone ahead and talked right out of the gate, um, instead of, one party getting a lawyer involved. And yeah, but yes, I mean, yeah, I was a little bit surprised as well.
Exactly. So, uh, yeah, another interesting thing that came up this week that I thought I would pass along. And then, or I should say, and now, Angie came up with this idea. This is always kind of our favorite part of the paper to read every week. Let me make sure I get this right. We'll probably make this a regular section of this little live here, but we'll go through the police report that's in the paper every week here because it's kind of funny. And if you're not from around here, you will get a kick out of these things that they print. And I swear the guy that runs or takes care of these things, they must have a blast writing these up because they're pretty funny. So we'll start out with this one. At 2:18 p.m., some kids were spinning donuts in a grassy field. And just remember, these are actual calls that came into our local police department, and then they put them in the paper. So if you're wondering about the crime up here, this will give you an idea of our heavy crime we have around here. And this is all from the month of April. So we're going back a little ways. And then same day, several trucks were also doing burnouts up and down a parking lot. That sounds like something Angie used to do when she was a kid around here.
That's right. There wasn't anything else to do.
And then here you go. We had a report that 3 cows appeared in someone's driveway. So they quickly called the police on that. And then here's another one. This one's classic. I'll let you read this one. This sounds like you.
It sounds like me. A stray dog wouldn't leave the porch of a house after the homeowner fed it.
Yeah, that's not a good way to get a dog off your porch, is to feed it. Oh, and then here you go. This one's classic as well. 2 people were getting frisky in a parked car.
That's pretty serious stuff.
1:09 in the afternoon. That's kind of early for that call into the police. 10:27 a.m. A man suspected his neighbor's dog was the reason all his chickens were dead, but he could not prove it. So another big mystery for the police to
solve.
work on. And then what do we got? Someone who called dispatch said they wanted to report a theft, and then they hung up. Apparently they couldn't prove it either. And this is a good one. Someone accidentally dialed 911 while discussing the best model of Subaru to purchase.
Well, and that is that's a very, I mean, that's serious stuff, because that's like the car around here.
Exactly. And then and finally, a half dozen cows were standing on a bridge. So there's a little rundown of our police activity in April around here, and we'll keep updating these and get you some updated reports in the future lives. So let me get rid of that, and we can start going to the questions. If anybody has questions here, where am I? All right, there we go. Now we can go to the questions. We got Joe. Good evening from Pennsylvania. Good evening, Joe. I went to school at Penn State, so I'm familiar with your area. CJ, rates almost at 8%. Yikes. That is correct.
So what we've been doing around here, to just talk on that a little bit, is we have been, if you're representing a buyer, we'll talk to their lender and ask the seller to buy down a couple of points for, a certain amount of time. Typically around here, it's been 2 years. And then the thought process of the lender is that hopefully rates will go down a little bit over the next 2 years and they can refinance. So we have started to see some of that in our area to offset some of the higher interest rates.
Yes, we have. Lake Tahoe in the middle of summer, still super cold. Yeah, Whitefish Lake never gets warm. And I mean, even in August, it's not like the Midwest where the lakes turn into bathwater in the middle of summer just because they're being fed by these glacier, snow-fed streams, and they stay cold.
Yeah.
And CJ's agreeing with our easement talk. Easements are legally binding and surveyed in. Yes, you could easily move it if all parties agreed. Yeah, and like we were saying, we can't get into too many details with all of this, but like Angie said, had they, just come at it from a different angle instead of right to a lawyer, it would have been much easier and probably would have happened easy. But anyway,
had a different result.
It was an interesting thing. Curtis, how has the smoke been the past couple weeks? It's been bad. When did it clear out? It cleared out about a week ago now.
Yeah, probably. It was, we were getting it from Canada. All the fires in Alberta. Can you hear the dogs?
Yes. Yes, I apologize for the dogs going on. Um, but yeah, about a week ago it cleared out just because of the weather pattern. But then we've been getting rain too for about a week, so hopefully they've been getting it up there as well. Um, and yeah, looking out the window now, it's not smoky at all anymore. But like I said, we've been getting rain now for the last few days, um, and it's cleared it out. So that's good because, yeah, it felt like the end of August last week. Hi, Will and Angie from Kansas. Hello. Let's see. Was there 2 weeks ago? I managed to get a good info for rentals in Missoula. Surprising how quickly they work on the roads here in Florida. It takes a month to fix one block. Well, the road construction here, the annoying thing is they always start right now because they can't do it in the middle of winter. So we're in Whitefish, they're doing a bunch of construction right as you come into town, and it's just clogging up the the main drag into town. So everyone's using Baker Avenue, which is now way busier than normal. And it's it's annoying, but I guess they got to do it sometimes. So, all right. Talk about when you're buying a property and they say it comes with a share of water from a spring, but when you start building and want to use the water, the neighbors say you can't.
Well,
Angie, you want to talk about water rights?
yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're buying a property with a shared water source, you need to have an agreement in place. And if you're obtaining lending, most lenders won't lend on it if you don't have an agreement in place, and that's for water, road access, easement access to your property. So, if they say it comes with a share of water from a spring, you want that in writing. You want that agreement. Who's paying for the pump. If the pump goes out, are you splitting it half and half? Whose property is on the, or yeah, whose is the pump? Where is the pump? Whose property is the pump on? So yeah, I don't care if it's, if it's when they say it comes with a share of water from a spring. Yeah, I mean, water rights in Montana, that's a pretty serious thing in Montana. It's first in line, first in time. So, if you buy your property today and it has a water right from 1905, obviously, if a neighbor comes in and drills a well or starts tapping into that spring, and then you don't have water, you have first right to that water. But yeah, you want to see the water right, you want to see the shared well or water right agreement. Same with roads.
All right, let's go to the next one. Whitefish sounds like a dangerous place to live. I'll stay in LA. Yeah, I don't know about dangerous, but it can be dangerous if you don't think. Let's see. Jenna, what is the mountain range in your background? The mountains behind me here, that is up the North Fork near Polbridge, Montana. It's probably 40 miles from here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Polbridge, they call it the North Fork. It's the North Fork of the Flathead River, and then those are actually in Glacier Park. The river is the border of the park, but that road goes all the way up to the Canadian border, and basically everything on the, what would it be, east side of the road is Glacier Park, across the river, and then it goes all the way up the Canadian border, but it stops right there. I don't know if it ever went through. I mean, when you were growing up, do you ever remember that road or people using that to go up to Canada? I've looked on Google Maps and it looks like it's just the middle of nowhere in Canada up there. I don't know if there's ever even a road on the other side.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, I'm sure at one point they probably did, but I don't know that for sure.
All right. While in Glacier, was having lunch near a stream within the mountains, and all of a sudden an AC-130 did a cannon run, almost lost the sandwich. Yeah, sometimes. So there's a big Air Force base over in Great Falls, which is right over the mountains from the park, and sometimes they'll come flying over here, right over the park, which is kind of weird, but um, it happens. Curtis, Minnesota here, but desire living near Glacier. Spent 5 days there last summer and love it. We got the smoke here also. I heard that it was like all the way to Chicago and beyond. It was crazy.
Well, and I get, wanting to live here instead of Minnesota.
We'll just leave that one lay. One is high-speed broadband readily available everywhere in Montana. No. Now with Starlink, that's definitely given internet to people that want to live way out. But as far as, regular high speed that you're used to, it is not. So if you're trying to, I'm looking at his next question here. I mean, in all communities where there are residents, obviously there's no internet in the mountains. Even in some of the smaller towns, you just need to check into it. For the most part, it's getting better and better all the time, but you definitely want to check into your area or wherever you're looking before you buy something if you're going to work remotely or if you need high-speed internet, because Montana's still a little behind the times when it comes to all of the modern technologies.
Weren't you saying though, like Eureka up near the Canadian border, they did didn't they do some grant or some?
Yeah, they got a grant, I was told, because I was showing a house in Eureka, which the town of Eureka is fine. It's, there's a lot of people right there, but I was actually outside of town quite a ways and showing a house, and the guy's like, "We'll find out what kind of internet or how good their internet was, and or if they have high speed internet." And so I called the other agent when I got back, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they have fiber." I was like, "Fiber? There's no way," because we don't even have fiber, and we're in the middle of Whitefish. So yeah, it was kind of weird that they had it out where that house was, but yeah, so it's hit and miss, I guess is the best way to put it. You'll find fiber in places you'd never expect it, and then there'll be areas that won't have the greatest internet, but you just need to check into that. Can you explain the Homestead Act regarding when you purchase real estate? So have you checked into this, Ange?
Well, we kind of went down that road I don't know, a couple months ago, and it doesn't it just protect a certain amount of your home?
Yeah, that's yes. You need to talk to a lawyer, or just Google it like I did, and it'll tell you more about it. It's not. I think, and I'm not saying you, but the person that was asking last time, I think, was confused. They were relating it to back in the 1800s when you could just go live on Forest Service land for a period of time and then you owned it. And obviously that's not how it works anymore. What I looked up as far as the Homestead Act, it's a legal thing that you can use to protect to protect the equity, I guess, in your house. Because even if you have a mortgage, that it does nothing for that. The bank can still foreclose on it. It's not like you can, claim some Homestead Act and not have to pay your mortgage. So you may want to Google it. I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're thinking. Hopefully that helped a little bit. But that's what I know. Let's see. What is the most mountainous area you would recommend buying a home? I'm not sure what you mean. Um, we have mountains all around us here in the valley, uh, and there's mountains in every direction. So I'm not sure. You may want to
I,
expand.
I wonder if he means like, for to be able to have year-round access, and that, I mean,
Yeah, you can talk about that a little bit, I guess.
mountainous area, you would recommend buying a home. I guess it kind of depends on how hardy you want to be. Do you want to live off grid? There's some homes, way up in the mountains that, people use solar panels and generators and that type of thing. Um, so, yeah, I mean, you need a big snow plow and, are you just going to town once a week type of thing? So, yeah, we have some very mountainous properties in all of Montana. Well, Western Montana, I suppose. Not a lot of mountains in Eastern Montana, but yeah, it just kind of depends on what you're up for.
Are you here once a week? No, we're here every other week. So every 2 weeks we do these, and um, I think once a week you'd get awfully sick of seeing my face. Let's see. The road between Condon and Steely Lake was the most beautiful stretch I've ever driven through, and the most memorable for me throughout the week I was there. Yeah, the Swan Highway it's called, and I've done videos on that, and it is, I agree, because again, when you're driving down that road, everything on the east side of the road is basically the Bob Marshall Wilderness area. And so from that road, probably 80 miles to the east is wilderness area. And it's I think it's the third biggest in North America or in the US, third biggest wilderness area. So it's awesome. There's some really cool spots out there. There's a place called the Chinese Wall, which is incredible, but unfortunately it's like out in the middle, so it's not easy to get to. You either have to horseback or hike for 3 days, or there's no roads obviously to get there. So that's kind of on my bucket list, somewhere I want to go at some point. And yeah, it's pretty country, and then it goes all the way to the north and basically blends into Glacier Park. So it is beautiful. How will Will survive without TikTok? Well, I don't usually go on TikTok much, so I'll do just fine. Um,
Our
but
daughter,
what's that?
our daughter,
Yeah, she will not be happy. It'll be interesting. That whole thing's kind of interesting, and I get why they did it, the whole Chinese government thing and all of that. Um, but it's kind of a couple things. First of all, I don't know how they're gonna. I don't even know if it's possible. I think it was more of a political statement more than anything, because I don't know how you can ban it in one state. Um, with the all of the mobile phones, and if you come over here from a different state, does it just shut off? Again, I don't begin to understand the technicalities of how that'll work, but I think it's going to be dang near impossible to make that happen. Um, I
one of
think
my read is that it's a ban on new accounts. Like if you already have TikTok in Montana, you can still use it. All the people that were using it for business, that type of thing. But I may be wrong on that. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah, well, and I suppose they could just take it off the app store, but again, I don't know. I think unless the whole country did it, I think it's going to be impossible to keep it out of there. And then if you have a VPN, you can just use that and pretend you're in Phoenix and download it that way. So again, I think it was more of a political statement. And unfortunately, there's a lot of small businesses here that have used it and done quite well on it, and they were kind of irritated that it was going to be taken away. I realized they could move over to Facebook or YouTube or any of the other ones, but they've built up a huge audience already on TikTok, and so yeah, it'll be kind of an interesting thing to see how it plays out. So there you go. Montana ranks 25th out of 50 for murder rate. All right, I did not know that. Let's see. Up to 250,000 assessed value of a home or mobile home can be protected against most creditors if the owner files a homestead declaration. Yeah, I read that too, but if there's still a mortgage on it, I read that they can't. You said most creditors. That's, I guess the bank would be, one of them that can't come after you. So it's not, what I read is that it's not I think some people have it in their head that, I can just go buy a house, make a couple payments on it, claim a homestead declaration, and then, live there happily ever after and nobody can come after me. So that is not how I understood it. Here's one for you to answer.
If a property is listed online as pending or under contract and it remains that way for 3, 4, 6 months, is that an indicator that there are maybe problems with the qualifying? It can. Pending in our MLS means that all contingencies have been released, even financing. So there aren't any contingencies left. You're just maybe waiting. What happens around here is, maybe somebody wants to stay for the summer. Like I just had this happen. He wants to sell, he's willing to sell, but they're not going to close until August because the homeowner wanted to spend a last summer in Montana. So that one will remain as pending for another 3 months. Under contract, taking backup offers means that the agent will continue to market it. It is under contract. There are contingencies, inspection, insurance, financing, whatever those contingencies may be. So working through some of that. And yes, there are times that you get towards closing and something comes up. What happens around here is, like up on Big Mountain, up on the ski hill, a couple of those condominiums are considered condotels, is what they're called. And most out-of-state lenders can't, get it closed. They get to underwriting and the underwriter's like, nope, more than half of the homeowners don't live there on a permanent basis. So we're not willing to insure it. So therefore we're not willing to underwrite it. And so then everybody scrambles and you use a local lender like Glacier Bank or Whitefish Credit Union or somebody like that is local and understands what that product or what that property is all about. And then, you're basically starting all over. So that happens sometimes in our area. In fact, as an agent up on the mountain, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I have a buyer for this unit and they're using whatever state bank it is, I'll usually say, well, you need to use somebody else because it just inevitably gets to closing and then you have to start all over. And it's no fun for anyone. So that happens.
Well, and if something's been on the market or showing up for 3 to 6 months under contract, then there's something usually weird going on.
Mm-hmm.
Normally a deal, like Angie said, most 90% of deals are written up where at the latest it's 45 days till closing. Not to say there aren't some that go longer, but like I said, 90% are probably usually 30 days, some are 45 days. If it's still showing up under contract for 6 months, yeah, there's something weird going on. I know I was just looking at a place for a guy the other day, and it's a property that had a VA mortgage on it, And you can assume those if you're a veteran coming in behind another veteran, you can assume that loan. And this was kind of a cool deal for the guy because it was a 2% loan back a year and a half ago when they were 2%. So that's a huge, it's a huge benefit to be able to assume a 2% loan at this point. But with that being said, because it's, typical government, it takes forever to go through all the paperwork and all the different agencies and get it to work. But I guess that Angie's got a great story of one government type deal over in Billings that took probably a few months.
Yeah, we probably got that under contract in February, March, April, May, and it just closed. So yeah, that was 3 months. It was a HUD house, and it was a unique loan program, and it just took forever to get it closed. We did 2 different extensions. Yeah, so it happens. It's not super frequent, but it does happen.
All right, let's see. Curtis. Any recommendations for fun things to do and see outside of the park coming in the summer, and like to hear ideas from local people? And then down here he said wheelchair friendly. So, you know, pretty much everything, that we do, you can do in a wheelchair for the most part. I mean, it just, you're driving around for the most part. And, I don't
Well,
know,
you can bring it to-
the farmers markets are cool. Just basically sightseeing is, outside of the park.
Well,
Going
and
to the
going up
different,
to the mountain, I mean, you can take the gondola, and they do have wheelchair ramps up at the top. So some of those places are wheelchair friendly.
yeah, that's a cool thing to do, is taking the chairlift or the gondola up to the summit of Big Mountain. And then I just thought of another one, and now I spaced it out when you were talking about Big Mountain. Yeah, there's all kinds of things to do. Oh, I know what it was. You could go do the boat tour. What's the name of that boat down in Lakeside that we did?
Oh, let me Google it.
There's a lake, it's a big boat. And you kind of tour around Flathead Lake on it. The Far West. That's
Yes.
what it is. It's called the Far West. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, plenty to do around here. Let's see. Do you see the work demand continue to climb within the next year or two? In Missoula, I count at least 8 large apartment complexes being built, but not many stores or businesses being built. Yeah, yes, I do see the work demand continuing to climb. As far as stores and businesses being built, I think, there's plenty of commercial buildings, and some of the businesses are moving around. And I know they're building new commercial stuff up in our valley. So I'm sure there is in Missoula too. You probably just didn't see it. But yeah, the video I did a couple weeks ago, our market up here is way different than other parts of the country. We're not seeing a slowdown with people, with the demand, and we have such a low inventory. The prices are holding pretty steady, and so yeah, that is the deal. Do you find the general rule of 10 to 20% of the purchase price is what will needed to fix up a home someone buys? Most homes are legacy homes in Montana. I don't know about that. I don't know if there's a general rule about fixing up a home. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know and I think that a lot of the homes around here aren't necessary. I mean, yes, do we have some legacy homes in our area that are spectacular and beautiful for sure? But in the town of Kalispell, in the town of Whitefish, Columbia Falls, there are, quote unquote normal homes that, yeah, need fixing up. And I think it just kind of depends on, what state are you getting that home in right now? Has electric and plumbing over the years been updated, or are you still dealing with, knob and tube electrical and that type of thing? So, yeah, I think it just kind of depends on the home.
Well, here's a question for you.
Angie, was it hard to adjust to the influx of new residents the last few years, being that you are native to that area? Yeah, yeah. I've, uh, yeah, yes, it has, and it's a weird and sometimes very uncomfortable feeling being a realtor and you know feeling like I'm kind of selling out my state, if I'm being completely honest. So yeah, it's a different feeling. But with that being said, this area has always grown. I mean, we have surges, maybe not to the degree that we have felt over the last couple of years, but we've always had surges and an influx. And this whole area is a resort area. All of Western Montana is kind of more of a resort area. And so it's, growing up here, what it was like when, growing up, it, it's not even the same. There were big spanses between Big Fork and Kalispell, between Kalispell and Whitefish, between Whitefish and Columbia Falls. And, it was all farmland, and, those farmers have sold. And so it's continuously changed. I think it's just, have felt it the most in such the largest amount in the shortest period of time the last few years.
There you go. He's impressed with your answer. All right, let's go back up. That's the property I'm referring. Oh, the VA property. Yeah, I'm glad we were on the same page. And let's see, what mountain is that? Where is the gondola? It's Whitefish Mountain Resort, and they just opened. Was it this weekend or last week? For the summer. So they have the gondola rides up to the summit. They have the alpine slides. They have a walk in the trees. They have all kinds of summer things that in the past it was dead up there. There was nothing going on in the summer. There's a trail that has always been there that people hike in the summer, but it's really gotten busy. Oh, and they have zip lines up there too in the winter or in the summer. So it's kind of a busy place in the summer as well now, not just in the winter. So, yeah, it's busy. So let's see, we're kind of getting down to the end of the question. So if you guys don't have anything else, we'll let you get back to enjoying your holiday weekend. And we appreciate you joining us for this. And like I said earlier, we do these every 2 weeks. And you can, let me put it up here, get a hold of us if you have any other questions, or you want a link to our MLS site to look at the properties around here. Just shoot me an email. And with that, I guess, let me see. All right, one more question. How far is Whitefish from West Glacier? 15 miles? It's not far.
No, it might be a little bit further than that, but it's not. It takes from our house, from downtown Whitefish to the entrance station, it takes about 30 minutes.
Huh. Yeah, it's not far at all. So and get there easy. I just want to say thank you to Red Haas for your donation. That was awesome. We appreciate that. Thank you guys. I really miss my Montana, and this is fun. We'll come back in a couple weeks. And again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Red Haas, for your donation. And we will see everybody in 2 weeks. Have a good Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks.